we are going to start talking about the Carnival of the Animals, which is a musical piece that has several smaller movements in it, and they all kind of depict a different animal. While we are listening, you are going to have a little coloring book, and on certain days we're going to color the different animals one at a time, and we're going to talk about some things that we notice in the music and instruments we hear, the sounds we hear. Today while we're listening, you can color any of the first 3 pages. You could start to color the cover page, the story page, and about our composer, but please don't go on to the next pages because we'll be getting there all together soon. So today just those first 3 pages to color while we talk about this story. First, we're going to talk about our composer, Camille Saint-Saëns. He was born on October 9, 1835, and died on December 16, 1921. He wrote during the Romantic time period. When Camille Saint-Saëns was just a toddler, his mother and his great-aunt began teaching him music. Like Mozart, he was a child prodigy, which means he was really good at music when he was really young. At 2.5 years old, he could pick out tunes on the piano. At 3, he composed his first piece of music. Can you imagine that? He was only 5 years old when he gave his first public performance. That's younger than you guys. Can you imagine performing for a crowd when you were 5? When he was 7, he was giving public concerts as a pianist and organist. He also began to study with others. When he was 10, he made his public debut and offered to play any of Beethoven's 32 piano sonatas from memory. That's pretty crazy. He became one of the most famous French composers. Saint-Saëns also liked to write poetry, scientific papers, and essays about music. Sometimes he made enemies because he insulted his fellow musicians when he wrote about them. He was also a conductor, a critic, a music scholar, teacher, and composer. He composed operas, but none of them were very popular. He is best known for concertos, an organ symphony, Danse Macabre, which we listen to around Halloween time, and the Carnival of the Animals. One of Saint-Saëns' most well-known compositions, the Carnival of the Animals, was originally written to make fun of some of his friends. Is that very nice? Not really. But now, it is enjoyed by children all over the world for the picture it paints of animals. So Camille Saint-Saëns wrote Carnival of the Animals to be played by an orchestra. We're going to look at what is an orchestra. We've talked about some of these instruments before, but an orchestra is an ensemble or a group of musicians who play musical compositions that are designed to be performed by a large group of instruments. In order to be considered an orchestra, the ensemble must have several sections, including string instruments, woodwind, and brass instruments, with most also having a percussion section. It is led by a conductor in performance and can perform a wide variety of musical pieces at all sorts of events. A big part of the orchestra is the conductor. The conductor's most obvious role is to lead the orchestra, to direct them when they start, tell them when to stop, how fast to go, when to play louder, when to play softer, and so on. The conductor does this not by verbal instructions, but rather by the movement of his hands and arms. Even though the musicians have their music in front of them and know how to play their notes, an orchestra might have as many as 100 musicians, and therefore having a leader in front makes it all come together. In the orchestra, the conductor stands at the front so that all the musicians can see the person conducting. First, we have the strings family. In the strings family, we have violins, violas, cellos, and a double bass. Sometimes there's even a harp in the string section. In the woodwind section of the orchestra, we have the flute and piccolo, a clarinet, an oboe, and a bassoon. In the brass section, we have some French horns, trumpets, trombone, and tuba. And in the percussion family, that's anything that you hit, shake, or scrape. So you have all different kinds of drums, things like triangles, the bells, the wind chimes, the cymbals, timpani drums, and even a piano sometimes. All of these instruments are facing the conductor, so they know when it's their turn to play and when they need to stop and how fast to go, and they're always watching that conductor, no matter what instrument they play. Now let's talk a little bit about the story of Carnival of the Animals. In St. Sion's Carnival of the Animals, each movement is about a different animal. Kind of like if you remember back in first grade and we talked about Peter and the Wolf and each character had its own instrument sound. That's kind of like how Carnival of the Animals is. St. Sion chose to describe each animal by a different instrument or group of instruments. For example, the elephant is described by the double bass, the cuckoo by the clarinet, the birds by the flute, the elegant swan by the cello, and the dry bones by the xylophone. The movement perfectly describes both the animals and the characteristics of the orchestra instruments. Carnival of the Animals was originally written for 12 instruments, 2 pianos, 2 violins, a viola, a cello, a double bass, 1 flute, 1 clarinet, a glockenspiel, a glass harmonica, which we'll get to talk about later, and a xylophone. Today, several changes have been made. The strings are usually played by the entire string section, the glass harmonica has been replaced by a celesta, and sometimes orchestras perform this with someone reciting one of the several versions of poetry that have been written. So somebody else has kind of come and written a poem or a story to go along with the music. There are 14 short movements in Carnival of the Animals. Each movement represents a different animal, with a few of the movements being more non-traditional animals, such as the pianist and the fossils. Now, if you remember, we said Camille Saint-Saëns liked to make fun of his friends while he was writing this. So we'll talk about that some later, but maybe think, how is a pianist an animal? Is he saying his friends act like animals? The movements frequently make fun of the animal, a composer, or even the people whom Saint-Saëns knew. At other times, the music is simply brilliant, beautiful, or fun. While you're coloring those first 3 pages today in your booklets, we are going to listen to a little bit of some of all the animals so we can get an idea. Then next time we'll go back and listen to just one animal and talk about different instruments and things we hear in the music, and we'll do one at a time. Today, just a little overview of all the animals. You can listen. There's a poem that somebody's going to be reading to tell you kind of part of the story, and you'll get to hear some of that music. So listen quietly. You can keep coloring or just listen and watch and enjoy a little bit of the Carnival of the Animals.
The Carnival of the Animals by Camille Saint-Saëns. New verses by Jack Perlutsky. Recited by the author. Welcome to our carnival, where birds and beasts and such behave a lot like people do. At times, a bit too much. You'll meet the regal lion and the captivating swan, the irritating donkeys that prattle on and on. You'll meet a tortoise, and some fish with undulating fins. Welcome to our carnival. The music now begins. The Lion. It's evident the lion is king, in charge of almost everything. Avoid the beast at any cost, for if you fail, then all is lost. If you should hear the lion cough, don't hesitate to hurry off. And if you hear his frightful roars, remove yourself to distant shores. The lordly lion longs to sup on living prey and chew it up. Try not to fall within his sight, lest he dispatch you bite by bite. Besides his royal magnificence, the lion possesses common sense and manages to lay no less than every lovely lioness. Rooster and Hens. The hens all rush around the yard. They hurry, hurry, hurry. They peck, 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 and cluck, cluck, cluck. They scurry, scurry, scurry. They fuss and fret and fret and fuss with feathers in a flurry, until they rest upon their nest and cease their senseless worry. The hens each lay a single egg, then sit on it, contented. The rooster treats this news as though it was unprecedented. With puffed up chest he crows and crows till he appears demented. He seems to think a chicken egg was something he invented. The donkeys of the wild. They haven't any manners and they haven't any sense. There's not a word that anyone can say in their defense. Their ways are so unsavory they'll never get ahead. They are the donkeys of the wild. That's all that need be said. The tortoise. The tortoise lugs his house about and lumbers on all fours. He clearly never seems to be completely out of doors. The tortoise is a cautious sort, not known for being bold, and so the tortoise lives to be exceptionally old. The tortoise never hurries, and is happily resigned to being late for dinner and to being left behind. The tortoise doesn't ask for more if he can do with less. Perhaps that is the secret of the tortoise's success. Elephants. An elephant never forgets to remember the things he remembers to never forget. An elephant knows that it snows in December, that summer is warmer and water is wet. An elephant's ears are a genuine wonder. An elephant's trunk is an elephant's pride. His footfalls are often mistaken for thunder. If you're in the neighborhood, do step aside. When elephants gather, the ground starts to tremble beneath the great weight of their ponderous feet. Be glad there are elephants left to assemble. Without them, our planet would feel incomplete. Kangaroos. This fact is essential about kangaroos. They hop energetically, just as they choose. They hop over rocks, over fences and streams, and probably hop in their kangaroo dreams. When they aren't sleeping or swallowing food, they hop and they hop as though being pursued, for hopping's an action they cannot refuse. This fact is essential about kangaroos. Aquarium. In a tank filled to the brim, little fishes slowly swim endlessly from place to place, rarely varying their pace. There is little that they know. They blow kisses as they go. They don't notice what they see or their own monotony. Each one has no other wish than to be a little fish, neither jubilant nor glum, in a small aquarium. personages with long ears. They love to loudly bray, and bray away both night and day. Determined that their brays be heard, they're both obnoxious and absurd. They bray when it is calm and warm, they bray throughout a raging storm. To fill the world with coarse hee-haws, sometimes without the briefest pause, appears to be their only cause. The Cuckoo. Oh, cuckoo, 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 we must number you among those creatures with no interest in parenting their young. You slyly lay your egg within some smaller bird's abode, thus demonstrating that you lack the slightest moral code. Oh, cuckoo, 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 it's no wonder you're reviled, permitting that unwitting bird to cultivate your child. Birds. They flitter here, they flitter there, enjoying every breeze, and twitter songs of happiness amid the sheltering trees. They build their nests, they hatch their eggs, they warble as they thrive. With every note, they tell the world it's good to be alive. Pianists. Practice, 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 our piano teacher screeches. We practice, 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 but we can't play what she teaches. Although we try our very best on every single scale, we always seem to fumble and our little fingers fail. But we practice, practice, practice as she screeches, screeches, screeches. And if we keep on practicing, we'll soon play what she teaches. Fossils. Fossils? You entirely lack the basic knack of coming back. For fossils, you're extinct, and so there's nowhere left for you to go. Poor fossils, long without a skin. Today you simply don't fit in. One wonders if you were surprised to find that you'd been fossilized. The Swan. The stately and beguiling swan glides slowly on the lake, with little but a ripple in her evanescent wake. Although she has no song to sing, no words that she can say, she's perfectly exquisite in her aqueous ballet. The swan is grand and glorious. She's poised at every turn, epitomizing elegance no other bird can learn. Though some may say she's just a swan, and fairly commonplace, she's positively nonpareil at demonstrating grace. Our carnival is ending soon, as all things must in time. The music's almost over. We approach the final rhyme. In moments, all the animals will take their parting bow. We hope you'll visit us again, but say farewell